I just saw something that totally changed the way that I think about the release of the files. I think, like a lot of people, I've been really focused on justice for the victims and accountability for the perpetrators. But there's another aspect of this issue that is every bit as important, and it affects all of us. And that's because the release of the files themselves, and everything, the decades of abuses that occurred and were documented and are in those files, without those files being released, and without every perpetrator being identified, investigated, and prosecuted, the small handful of people who actually know what happened and have their own evidence, they've got a tremendous amount of leverage over all of the perpetrators whose names have thus far been redacted or who've been protected by Pam Bondi as she refuses to release all of the files as the law requires. So my buddy Chad Scott, who is a creator on these apps and specializes in NATO, put this in the context of Kompromat. And that is that Vladimir Putin is all over the files. Not, as Chad says, because he's a potential pedophile, which he very well might be, but because Vladimir Putin was collecting information. He was figuring out ways to leverage not just politicians, but people with all sorts of power, economic power, industry leaders, people at universities and research institutions, and of course, celebrities and businessmen and politicians like Donald Trump. We have no way of knowing what our foreign adversaries, Russia, China, or even our allies, all of whom have sophisticated intelligence collection, they could already have all of the files or all of the information that went into building the files. So if there's compromising information about, say, President Trump, that could explain why he is always bowing down to Vladimir Putin. There are tremendously powerful people in terms of economics and politics and security who engaged in horrific acts with and because of and around Jeffrey Epstein. And Jeffrey Epstein kept notes. There's no telling what Epstein provided to other people while he was alive. And it's not just hostile foreign state actors who might have an incentive to blackmail or leverage political leaders or economic leaders. So until every perpetrator is exposed and held accountable, our national security and our economic security are at risk of manipulation by all sorts of bad folks.